The Russian Volunteer Corps and the Freedom of Russia Legion fighting on the side of Ukraine were able to gain a foothold in the suburb of Shebekino during the operation in the Belgorod region, which they themselves call liberation from the Putin regime. Clashes between Russian volunteers and the regular army continue for the third day in the district. The Russian Ministry of Defense has already reported several times on the liquidation of formations and squeezing them out of the Russian border. In response, the Russian Volunteer Corps military recorded appeals directly from the territory of Russia. Several Russian soldiers were taken prisoner of war.
Dear Vyacheslav Vladimirovich, I suggest that we exchange these prisoners of war for just a couple of minutes of communication with you, in the temple, without weapons and without soldiers.
The governor of the Belgorod region, Gladkov, did not go for the prisoners. Instead, he buried them in absentia.
The only thing stopping me from negotiating with them is our guys, who are in their hands. They probably killed them, no matter how hard it is for me to say that.
Realizing that the Russian authorities had left their soldiers to their fate, the Russian Volunteer Corps taken several more prisoners, handing them over to the armed forces of Ukraine for further official exchange for Ukrainian military personnel.
Here are your very guys from Mr. Gladkov, killed with our hands in his video. As you have noticed, during my absence, it became much more of your soldiers in our captivity. The appearance of actually Russians who want to liberate Russia from Putin and make a free Russia with weapons in their hands, and even with the support and in cooperation with other warriors of other peoples who also want a free Russia. This produces a huge impression, shock, confusion and so on.
The residents of the Russian region, where the hostilities are taking place, turned out to be abandoned by the authorities. According to locals, there has been no water and electricity for a week. Emergency services and the police are not working. Bandits and looters are operating.
People who come back for things come under fire. The ambulance doesn't come there. If you get to a place outside the city of Shebekino, you will be taken out. If you don't make it, you will be laying there and can die. The situation is not under the control of our army. The looters work very hard. Also, the governor promised that he would increase security. But what protection if there's a frantic shelling going on? Natalia Cheremchenko, resident of Novaya Tavalzhanka, in the commentary to the publication Current Time.
Locals also complained that there was not and still isn't an organized evacuation from the clashes zone. People live on their own as best they can, putting themselves in danger. Most of the Russian internally displaced persons were accommodated at the Belgorod Arena Stadium, but there were not enough places, so they began to evict students from the dormitories.
They are being evicted from these rooms. This one is completely empty.
Some of the children evacuated from Shebekino were placed in a boarding school in Kaluga. According to the parents, the conditions in the boarding school are unbearable. Cockroaches are running around the tables, plaster is falling from the walls and ceilings. In the meantime, federal TV channels show the temporarily occupied Ukrainian territories and the fight against the mythical Nazis in Ukraine.
They show Donetsk. This is the city of Shebekino we have now. We barely left from the shelling. It's a shame for our Belgorod region that they do not protect us. This is the most offensive.
It is very obvious that security, people, fate, future, children of Russians are all consummables for Putin. This is all a secondary issue. We see this in such simple examples. After all, knowing that he is invading Ukraine, knowing and understanding that he is starting a war with the occupation of Crimea, he understood that this is a question that provides ordinary people problems in the future.
Amid the apparent inability of the Russian Ministry of Defense to take control of the situation in the Shebekinsky municipal district, the head of the Wagner PMC, Yevgeny Prigozhin, again voiced criticism for the sake of his own PR. His conflict with military officials escalated.
Why did we take Bakhmut and rename it Artyomovsk? Why are tens of thousands of people, our Russian guys, dying, moving towards the west, in order for us to start giving away step by step pieces of the Belgorod region, our primordially Russian land? Why is everyone silent about the deaths of these civilians? Where is General Lapin? Where is Shoigu? Where is Gerasimov? Where are the explanations to the Russian people?
Вот эти конфликты, от которых мы
These conflicts that we remember about Prigozhin Shoigu, this needs to be looked through more deeply. This is a conflict between the Federal Security Service and between the Ministry of Defense. The two power structures, or as we like to say, the two towers of the Kremlin, are already starting to sort things out with each other, based on the fact that these plans, which were laid at the beginning of the special military operation, as they call it, they of course failed.
The tragic events in Shebekino should be considered as the result of Putin's imperial policy. Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, commented on the situation in the border areas. He also added that this city has become a model for the future of all cities of Russia. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Vasil Panasiuk, UATV News.